Everyone thinks Magikarp is harmless. That's why nobody notices when it's too late. Today, I'm going to simulate raising a pet Pokémon, from a baby Magikarp all the way to a Gyarados. I'm going to feed him, train him, build habitats, and even have a bunch of battles with wild Pokémon, just to see what it's like to have a water-type Pokémon in real life. But right now, it's not even a Pokémon yet. It's just an egg. And honestly, this is the weirdest egg I've ever seen. It's damp. It smells like fresh rain, and every few seconds, it makes this tiny glug sound, like there's water sloshing inside, which is concerning because the egg isn't even in water. And at that moment, I already knew one thing. If this Pokémon grows up wrong, it won't just be weak, it could become something violent. After walking around with it for a while, the egg finally started cracking. And just like that, a baby Magikarp was born. He's only a few inches long, his fins are floppy, his body is basically all squish and panic, and the only move he seems to know is flop. But what's scary is this: even though he looks helpless, his heart is beating fast, like his body is already preparing for something. At first, I just let him exist. He tried to swim in the air, failed instantly, and flopped so hard he scared himself. So I did the only safe thing. I placed him in a small, temporary container filled with conditioned water, with gentle aeration. Because if I mess this up, he doesn't just get sick, he suffocates. But while he was resting, I needed to build him a real habitat, somewhere he could live, eat, grow, and most importantly, survive long enough to evolve. I decided to build his habitat inside a large glass aquarium. But this wasn't going to be a normal fish tank, because Magikarp doesn't just need water, he needs a world. The habitat is going to have 3 main sections so he can adapt slowly. First, the calm pond zone. Soft plants, smooth rocks, gentle current, so he can learn control without getting thrown around. Next, the river training zone. This section has a stronger current and a long swim channel, because if Magikarp is ever going to evolve, he needs endurance. And finally, the impact zone, a reinforced area with padded barriers and floating bumpers, because this little idiot is going to flop into everything, and if he hits glass too hard, it's over. Once the habitat was finished, I gently scooped him up and released him into his new home. Magikarp immediately panicked. He swam in circles, bumped into a plant, got offended, and then just flopped straight into the impact zone. But after a few minutes, something changed. He stopped panicking. He started floating still, and watching the current, like he was learning. Now that Magikarp had a home, it was time to feed him. I tried different foods to see what actually helps him grow. Algae wafers, tiny pellets, bits of fruit, but what he responded to most was protein. Not aggressive protein like raw meat, more like high-quality aquatic feed and shrimp-based bites. After eating, Magikarp got energetic. And by energetic, I mean he started doing what he does best, flopping like he was fighting invisible demons. But then, something happened that I wasn't expecting. Every time he flopped hard, the water pressure in the tank changed. Not just ripples, like a pulse, like the tank itself was breathing. And that's when I realized something important. Magikarp isn't just weak, he's building pressure. Now that Magikarp was full of energy, it was time to start training him. At this stage, he's still small enough that I can guide him safely. So I started simple. I moved him into the river training zone and increased the current slightly. At first, he got pushed back instantly. He struggled, flopped, spun, but then he started using the current instead of fighting it. He learned to hold position. He learned to push forward. And after a few sessions, I decided it was time for his first real battle. So I took him outside. I set up a portable water tub, oxygenated and temperature controlled. His opponent was a small wild Pokémon near the waterline. Magikarp froze. He didn't want to fight. But when the wild Pokémon moved closer, Magikarp panicked. and slammed forward with his whole body. It was messy. It wasn't elegant. But it worked. And just like that, Magikarp won his first battle. Not with power, with pure refusal to lose. After that, he was exhausted. I brought him back inside, and he sank into the calm pond zone, barely moving, just letting the current carry him. Over the next few days, we followed the same routine. Magikarp would eat, train, fight tiny battles, and recover. Each time, his body got stronger. His swimming got cleaner. His flops got heavier. And then, he started training by himself. Sometimes I'd walk into the room and see him in the river zone, facing the current, pushing forward like he had somewhere to be. I rewarded him, and his confidence grew. But one morning, something changed. Magikarp stopped caring about the river zone. He started staring at the water's surface, watching reflections, watching movement outside the glass. And that's when I realized he wasn't bored. He was hearing vibrations. And that's when he escaped. I don't even know how, but I found the lid shifted, water trail on the floor, and a single wet line leading to the backyard. Magikarp had flopped his way outside, following the sound of water through the house. He ended up near a drainage channel, a place where water was moving fast and loud. At first, he stayed shallow. He tried to swim in the thin stream, like it was a river. But then, something dangerous appeared. A predator Pokémon had been watching the channel. Something faster. Something that actually knows how to hunt. Magikarp tried to escape, but he couldn't. He got dragged, pinned, and for the first time, Magikarp stopped flopping. He went still, like his body realized, this is it. And then, the water around him started to change. It wasn't splashing anymore. It was pressurizing. The drainage stream started vibrating. Bubbles exploded out of nowhere. The air felt heavy, wet, charged, like a storm was forming right at ground level. But it still wasn't enough. Magikarp's body couldn't handle the fear, the stress, and the pressure he'd been building for days. The pressure inside him snapped. Water erupted, light flashed across the channel, and Magikarp began to evolve. His body grew massive, his fins sharpened, his face twisted into something ancient and angry. And in seconds, Magikarp was gone. He had become Gyarados. The predator didn't run. It didn't get a chance. One violent swing of Gyarados' body, and the entire channel exploded into spray. Gyarados escaped. But now, everything had changed. This wasn't a pet fish anymore. This was a disaster with a heartbeat. Now that he had evolved, it was clear he could never return to the old tank. So while he rested, I built a brand new habitat outside. One that could actually handle him. This habitat was a reinforced pond system. Heavy-duty lining, ground-anchored barriers, overflow control. A deep zone so he can submerge and calm down. And a high-flow water intake tower so he can release energy through motion, not violence. Once it was finished, I guided him in, and he loved it. Almost immediately, Gyarados became obsessed with training. He started circling the pond at night, creating whirlpools, practicing controlled bursts, learning how not to break everything he touches. Sometimes the fence would tremble. Sometimes the water would rise like it had its own tide. And I realized we were getting close to the limit again. He started fighting wild Pokémon that came near the water. This time, none of them stood a chance. He became so dominant that the area went quiet. No birds near the pond, no animals near the water. Even the air felt cautious. But Gyarados remembered what it felt like, to be powerless, and he never wanted that again. As his power grew, so did his confidence. And eventually, that confidence turned into something else. He got bored. Early one morning, Gyarados followed the vibration of water far away from home, not chasing anything, not running from anything, just listening. The deeper he went, the louder the vibration became. It led him to something massive, a dam, a wall holding back millions of gallons of water, energy stored in silence, pressure waiting behind concrete. Gyarados drifted closer. He touched the water near the intake gates. Nothing happened. So he pushed. The water shifted. A deep groan echoed through the structure. Gyarados pushed again. The turbines inside started spinning faster. Warning lights blinked on. Sirens began to scream. Because this wasn't just water. This was a city's supply. If Gyarados broke the flow, flooding would wipe out everything downstream. And for the first time, Gyarados didn't look angry. He looked aware. He could feel it. One wrong move, and people die. The pressure built. His body tensed. The water around him started forming a spiral. Not random, controlled. Like he was deciding what kind of monster he wanted to be. He had two choices: destroy the dam and prove he's unstoppable, or hold back and prove he's in control. Gyarados closed his eyes, and instead of attacking outward, he forced the pressure inward. He stopped fighting the world and started fighting himself. The spiral collapsed. The water calmed. The turbines slowed back down. The sirens faded. The dam stayed intact. And Gyarados opened his eyes. This time, he wasn't just strong. He was responsible. From a tiny fish that couldn't swim, to a Gyarados powerful enough to destroy a city, but disciplined enough not to. Thanks for watching. Comment below what Pokémon I should raise next, and subscribe for more real-life Pokémon simulations.